Okay, good evening, everyone. Let me start by just saying it's a real pleasure and honor to be here, speaking to all of you in Indonesia. Indonesia is Southeast Asia's largest economy, a country I deeply admire because I remember attending one conference that your president spoke, and he says, "Do you know that every year in Indonesia we produce one Singapore?" 5 million people in Indonesia move in the middle class every year. I was so humbled by their speech that I decided that I should come to Indonesia, partner with my good friend Pak Shuro Solisto Banglang, and learn how to do business in Indonesia. I hope there's many things that Six Capital and myself can contribute, and especially in today's topic, currency is very close to my heart, both personally and professionally. I began my career as a foreign exchange dealer in Singapore in 1981. Singapore was then fast becoming to be a financial center, which it has successfully become. In 1981, there were 216 banks in Singapore that has a license to trade foreign exchange. Our government in Singapore did the right thing. It has an unwritten rule by the Monetary Authority of Singapore that only the chief dealer of the bank can be a foreigner. All other people must be Singaporean. So I was the first lucky batch of Singaporean trained in foreign exchange. And within 6 years, I became the youngest chief dealer in foreign exchange in Singapore. I was then the chief dealer of Chase Manhattan Bank. Today is JP Morgan Chase. And then subsequently, I became the chief dealer of Union Bank of Switzerland, based in Tokyo, which is a major foreign exchange trading center. At that time, I was an active market maker of foreign exchange currencies. So my experience in foreign exchange for several decades now, including my private enterprise that I started Six Capital in 2009 when the global financial crisis happened in 2008. Why did I do that? Because I saw that foreign exchange will be forever changed due to the global financial crisis. Let me just share with you why this is so and how it will impact global currencies, including the Indonesian Rupiah. You know, currency is the only financial asset in the world that does not exist inside an exchange. All other financial asset class like gold, commodity, silver, all has a physical exchange, but the currency does not. The second thing is, currency is also not a physical asset. It is just a relative value between two sovereign nations. How the two nations choose to transact. And it is because of this structure that today you find that the Indonesian Rupiah is always looking at what is the exchange rate to the US dollar. I think in today's technology, it is possible for Indonesian Rupiah to break out of that mold, which I will share a little bit later. The world of currency exists this way. The value of the currency is determined by two parties willing to exchange at a certain rate, including when you go down to your money changer to change Rupiah into Sing dollar before you go to Singapore for shopping. But anyway, most of you don't go Singapore shopping anymore. It's just too expensive. I read in a newspaper last month that Indonesian coming to Singapore has dropped by 25%. The spending dropped by more than 25%. I think that's good news for Indonesia and quite bad news for Singapore. Singapore is going to tighten the belt for more bad news. I think it's reported in our Straits Times even today. Our monetary authority has warned the nation that we are entering a period, I think we are 16 months in deflation in Singapore now. Right? But today we are looking at Indonesia, Rupiah, and the optimism of how Indonesia can have sovereignty over its own currency. First, you must understand that currency exists in pairs, and the people that make currencies price are really the top 10 banks of the world. You know, every day, foreign exchange transaction volume is $5.3 trillion. 80% of that transaction is accounted by the top 10 banks of the world. Citibank, UBS, JP Morgan, Barclays, and the like. When the global financial crisis came in 2008, these are the top 10 banks of the world that is too big to fail because they cannot fail. If they fail, then there's no more currency market maker and there'll be no more currency markets for the world. So because the top 10 banks of the world were bailed out, then new laws came into play. The United States government has come up with laws called the Dodd-Frank Act and Volcker Rule, and by 2012, all the top 10 banks of the world are not allowed to take proprietary position in the currency markets and any other trading markets. Because of that, you find suddenly that the world of currency does not have a market maker anymore. So the volatility of the market have changed tremendously, which I will share with you very quickly. In slide number 2, you will see that Indonesia's biggest challenge is about the monetary sovereignty. You have a rupiah that you cannot control. You have a rupiah that even your central bank would be a bit concerned. What if it breaks 15,000? Can Indonesian rupiah break 15,000? Of course it can. If the world of speculator comes in and take positions against the rupiah, it will break 15,000. Can your central bank defend your currency? Any representative of the central bank here? No, right? Of course cannot. In the history of currency, for the last 30, 40 years, no central bank in the world has ever succeeded in defending its own currency. Even sterling has to devalue. Why is that so? Why is it impossible for the central bank to defend its own currency? It is because the structure of the entire currency ecosystem. You see, if I'm a speculator, I put $1 million in the bank. The bank will lend me $100 million to take a currency position. We call that leverage. If you are the central bank, if you want to defend your currency with $100 million against me, you have to have $100 million in your foreign currency account. If not, you have to print more money. Every week you have to make a report that your foreign currency account is depleting. The world will come and attack you because your reserve account is depleting. If you tell the world you're printing more money, more people will attack you because your currency must be weak. That's why you got to keep on printing money. It is an unsustainable ecosystem. So in the history of currencies, never has any central bank been successful in defending its own currency. The only two in Asia that has successfully kept its currency stable was, of course, the Singapore government has kept Sing dollar quite stable for the last 30 years. The Chinese government has kept the RMB reasonably stable for 30 years. And these are the two economies that grew. Unless the sovereign nation is able to keep the currency in a stable band, it is very difficult for emerging economies like Indonesia, which is a large economy, to expect foreign direct investment to come in and contribute towards national growth. Currency, I want to emphasize with this example, is indeed, in my personal opinion, the most important element that can underpin the future growth of Indonesia. How can Indonesia be in a position to influence the Rupiah is what I want to share with you briefly, and then we move on to the panel for more discussion. I want to show you one slide. 100 times 100 multiplied by another 100 is 1 million. This is a solution I think Indonesia can implement. This will be the same slide that I will close with, and I will elaborate more. Let me just share with you very quickly about the next slide, which is why banks has got their wings clipped. When the Volcker rule came into play, which means banks are not allowed to make proprietary position, you can see this impact in January 15, 2015. You know, the Swiss National Bank has been keeping the Euro-Swiss peg at 120 for a short time. I think they spent 20 to 30 billion Swiss francs to defend this peg. But eventually, on that day, Swiss National Bank decided that it is not sustainable anymore, and it pulled from the peg. What you can see is, on that day, Euro devalued 24% against the Swiss franc in 14 minutes. There's only one currency in the world that devalued faster than the Rupiah in history, and that is the Euro. How could Euro, a reserve currency of the world, be allowed to devalue 24% in 14 minutes on that one day? The world called that this is the new normal, because there were no banks able to make any price during that time. And until there is real commercial orders comes in, then it is supported. This is unfortunately the new paradigm in the currency markets under the new rule. It has its plus and it has its minus. Let me now move on to share with you very quickly that even the Sing dollar, which our monetary authority of Singapore has taken pride for 30 years that Singapore is able to keep its Sing dollar stable. The Sing dollar devalued or depreciated 16% over 18 months against the US dollar. Not only that, it has never been heard of in my entire career as a trader in currency that the Sing dollar can move 1.5% during New York time. In the past, it could not have happened. But today, you find that 0.5% movement to even 1.5% movement of the Sing dollar during New York time frame has happened. This is again the new normal that Singapore has to learn to deal with. The currency market is today in a situation where I like to use the term, we are already in a period of currency war for some time. Every country is trying to make its currency cheaper than the other currency. Nobody wants to admit it, but everybody is doing it. So how to survive in this environment is the biggest challenge. I will not be surprised that someday, especially if you have a China financial crisis happening, Indonesian rupiah will go beyond 15,000 because it will be not possible to defend that rate. I like to think that all this has a solution in the new digital economy world. You know, if I have a chance, I would like to launch a campaign in Indonesia called I Love Rupiah. I think Indonesia, in my personal opinion, has the resources to determine the sovereignty of its own currency. It is a huge economy. Indonesia has 17,000 islands. Some say 14,000. So that means you can't even count 3,000 from the nearest era. You have some of the best mineral resources, coal mine, gold mine. You have so many resources, but you do not have a lot of money in your foreign currency account. That's all. So why defend the rupiah with your foreign currency account? Why not defend rupiah with your natural resources? I think this is a new game way of looking at Indonesian rupiah. Indonesia has a large population. The first thing I feel that if every Indonesian begins to love the rupiah and dislike the US dollar and do not quietly go and change in the US dollar to keep in case Indonesian rupiah devalued, then the rupiah will naturally be very strong. I think that nationalistic element of believing in your own currency is the first defense. And if you look at the next slide, which I now want to explain, if you have 100 million people, each one take your credit card and pledge $100 towards defending the rupiah. The JP Morgans and the big banks of the world will give you 100 times leverage, meaning you have $1 trillion to defend the rupiah. That is bigger than the G7 add together. Why can't Indonesia defend its own rupiah? Your only reason you can give is we cannot find 100 million people in Indonesia. We cannot mobilize 100 million people in Indonesia. Then I will tell you, don't worry about it. Because China has a big population. As long as if you defend the rupiah and can make money, even the Chinese will come and defend the rupiah for you. Crowd trading is what Six Capital specializes in. Using digital mobile technology to mobilize the ordinary man in the world to come together to take one common position can not only defend the rupiah but can change the course of ordinary actions that men do not believe can happen. Six Capital has the technology to harness a large base of people to stand behind what we do with today's financial technology. Using technology today, it is possible to make predictive analysis of markets. Today, everything that we do, from healthcare to education to finance, you have to build in machine learning, artificial intelligence. It is part and parcel of everyday life today. People out there are looking for simple leadership. Digital economy allows you to bring together large group of people with a single purpose. And that in itself is very powerful. Let me just share with you what Six Capital does in Indonesia, in China, and in India, and how we have changed the world of currency. And I will close with this. You know, during my time, and only until recently, foreign exchange is traded by hotshot traders in Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, that are paid millions and millions of dollars every month. Bonuses of 100 million US dollar is possible. Today, that has changed. The top banks of the world has already fired most of the expensive traders because the law doesn't allow them to trade anymore. What Six Capital has done in the last 6.5 years was to take the trading skills that I have learned over 30 years and turn them into micro lessons. Imagine the game of golf is very complex to learn. What we have done is to change the game of golf and call it the 1-foot putt. We train an army of people in China, India, and now in Indonesia, how to execute trades that can enter the market and exit in 90 seconds. All our trades are exited in 90 seconds. All these traders are trading dummy accounts in universities. In China, our trading syllabus is part and parcel of the finance degree across China. All university students have the option to take our training program on the Ministry of Education online portal and earn a few credit transfer points. Soon, they can even earn a major and earn 60 Chinese credit transfer points in the university. All the participating universities here, when your students goes through our program and goes through it consistently for the 6 months, you qualify for the Charter Banker Institute of Edinburgh, UK certification. That will help your students enhance their job prospects. Question: why do we do all this and charge nothing? Remember, all our training is free. Digital economy allows that. We take all your data, all your trading data, plus your trading habits of your student, and we put into a big data center we call Rice Bowl, and we do predictive analysis every 10 minutes, which trader in your school or university and which trade that he's doing is likely to be profitable. And we are about 87% accurate. Because we map the DNA of every of your trader the first day he started trading on our platform. We map the DNA of the trader against the DNA of the market condition. Trading is actually very simple. It either go up, go down, or go sideways. It doesn't go backwards. So there are only 3 major market conditions in trading. We map the market conditions to your student's DNA, that this particular student, every time the market is going up, he always makes money. Every time the market is going down, his trades is terrible. This is fundamentally what we do, and amongst all that, there are many other variables we take in. And what do we do with all this data? About 5 to 20% of these trades are being copied by hedge funds of the world and high net worth individuals. They are the person taking the risk. They also couldn't find traders. So what we have done, Six Capital, in this digital economy is to stand in the center and bridge the gap. And in doing so, today we are able to pay university undergraduates who trade into our program monetary awards of anywhere between $50 to $200 to even $400 a month, and the good ones, we are employing them at $1,000 US a month. Created employment to young graduates who have learned a new financial skills. I want to share with you this is because the digital economy has given us tremendous amount of opportunity to reorganize the ecosystem. Similarly, in closing, the digital economy also allow us to organize ourselves in a manner that if deployed correctly, the Indonesian Rupiah sovereignty can be maintained. The Indonesian Rupiah is best to look at a version which I like to call the digital Rupiah. Every major country in the world is moving towards that. The Chinese government has already announced that RMB will have a digital RMB version. Small nations are coming together to look at how to create a digital currency of their own. Everybody is trying to break away from the reliance on having pegged to the US dollar. I believe Indonesia has a great opportunity ahead of it, and I want to thank UGM for putting together this dinner and seminar tomorrow to explore this direction, and I look forward to cooperate with UGM and other best universities of the world to explore further how digital economy, digital currency can help Indonesia regain its sovereignty and stability over the Indonesian Rupiah. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.